Now, up to 700 Palestinian children are arrested every year, and many are physically abused and denied access to their parents or a lawyer. That's according to a team of British lawyers who visited Israel. They accuse Israel's security forces of regularly breaching the UN Convention on Children's Rights. And as our Foreign Affairs correspondent Jonathan Rugman reports, their findings have now been published.
Today's report says that hundreds of Palestinian children are arrested every year and often at night. In this incident from 2010, 4 teenagers were arrested for throwing stones, the youngest just 13. Though Israel says violence and threats towards children are forbidden, many child suspects say they've been blindfolded, physically and verbally abused, and forced to sign statements in Hebrew, which they can't understand. Stone throwing is a daily hazard of Israel's occupation, with under-18s subjected to Israeli military law. The report found that teenagers are often not granted access to a lawyer till after questioning. Children can be detained without charge for up to 188 days, and prison sentences for throwing stones can range from 2 weeks to 10 months. Wissam Tamimi is 16 and was arrested for stone throwing. He says he was forced to confess in exchange for a shorter sentence of 5 months in jail.
While I was in the jeep, they would beat me. I was held from 6 in the morning till 1 at night. At the end, they took me to prison. When they took me from the car, they tied my hands and covered my eyes, and they took me into a checkpoint. They grabbed my hands and tied them behind me, like this, and covered my eyes. The cuffs were very tight.
This is rare footage of a 14-year-old interrogated by Israeli officers last year. The questioning lasts over 5 hours, and the child is clearly exhausted. At one point, he starts sobbing. Neither his parents nor a lawyer are in the room. He was eventually detained for 2 months for throwing stones and then released to house arrest. Today's report concludes that Israel's treatment of child prisoners breaches the Geneva Conventions and the UN Convention on the Rights of a Child. The boy is from the village of Nabi Saleh in the West Bank. Protests involving stones frequently break out here in response to an illegal Israeli settlement taking what was Palestinian water. Teenagers in the village include Anan Tamimi, who's now been arrested 3 times, even though he's only 16.
On the question of arresting kids, the jails are never empty. All the time people go in and come out. With my friends at school, when someone gets out, someone else goes in.
The human rights organisation Bet Salem filmed this footage of the Israeli army on its night rounds in Nabi Saleh. First they wake the children, then they photograph them for their records. Israel says detained children are told of their right to silence and to a lawyer. But today's report says the fear that every Palestinian child could become a terrorist has led to a spiral of injustice, which it says only Israel can reverse.
The system, particularly the solitary confinement in cell number 36, breaks the spirit of the child. And what we find is, in the testimonies, the children often say, after a week or so of this treatment, they decide to confess simply to get out of the cell. Documented 38 cases in which children, older children, 16 and 17-year-old children, have been, rather than taken to a police station for interrogation, have been sent to interrogation centres inside Israel at Al-Jalameh, which is near Haifa, and Petah Tikva, near Tel Aviv, where the methods are significantly more severe, and the interrogations are generally carried out by the Shabak, the Israeli security agency.
تهمة وجه لي إياها. يعني أول مرة قال إني أنا بدي أطلق النار على حاجز التلا الفرنسية في القدس، أو إني بدي أسوي عملية استشهادية. بعد فتقريبا يعني بعد 21 يوم طلعوني من الزنازين. بعد طبعا يوم في تحقيق، وكل تحقيق 6 ساعات 7 ساعات.
بحكوا له انت هيك وانت هيك، وانا احكي لهم لا مش انا. بعد يعني بعد 25 يوم نزلوا لي لحظة الاتهام انه انا متهم بهذا الاشياء. بايش؟ كنت متهم انه انا عضو يعني في حركة في مجموعة، وانه عندي الاتهام الثاني انه عندي سلاح. الاتهام الثالث بتاعت اني انا بشتغل في التنظيم.
فيش ولا شيء فيها صحيح. بس هو حاولوا يعني كده اقول لك زي ما كل واحد بالعربي لبسوني اياها.
يعني كانوا يتهموني هم هناك، يعني بضلوا يتهمك اتهامات انك توقع باتهام انت تغلط فيه. الاشي كان بعطيك لاهلك ابوك وامك، اذا ما بجيب لك اياهم عندك، اذا بدك اياه، اذا بدك نضطر الامر بجيب لك اياهم عندك. وكان لي انت، انا وراي دولة اسرائيل، انت ولا شيء وراك. وهناك عند المحقق بس طلعنا عند المحقق في كرسي خاصة، لما يقعد عند المحقق في جنزير بدخل بجوات الكفل على الكرسي عشان ضلني قاعد هيك على الكرسي يعني ما اتحركش. واجري نفس الاشي فيه. لا هيك بمكان يعني مش من هون من مربطات، من ورا جيات هيك جنزير من ورا، واحدة هون واحدة هيك تيجي وبحطوا لي اياها بالكرسي. والاجرين طبعا بكم كلفش من اجراي. هناك في بحطوها بكلفشات في الارض، والكرسي طبعا يعني بالارض مثبته.
What we're saying is that these children have legal rights, and regardless of what the children are accused of, they should not be arrested in the middle of the night in terrifying raids. They should not be painfully tied up and blindfolded, sometimes for hours and hours on end. They should not be transferred on the floor of military vehicles. They have the right to silence. In order to exercise their right to silence, they have to be informed that they have the right to silence. They should be entitled to the same rights and protections, we say, as Israeli children. They should be entitled to have their parent present during questioning.